All right, everyone, welcome to the webcast. We are here today to discuss some software development featuring WireCrafters. We have a special guest today, Aaron Eubank. He's the National Sales Manager at WireCrafters. He's been kind enough to join us today, so thank you everyone for attending. Just to go through the agenda real quick, we're going to introduce WireCrafters and share a little bit about their story. We're also going to talk through some things with some IMAGINiT experts, and we're going to actually walk through the solution that we were able to customize and create for WireCrafters. We'll have some closing remarks, and then we'll finish up with some Q&A and try to get those questions answered the best that we can. As far as the presenters today, my name is Drew Conn. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for the Midwest region for IMAGINiT Technologies. Our guest speaker today is Aaron Eubank, National Sales Manager at WireCrafters. As far as the technical team goes, we have Tim Sealscott. He's the Senior Engineering Manager for our desktop automation team. We have Sean Tolajetsky. He is the Business Development Manager for IMAGINiT Technologies on our software development solutions side of the business. We have Kendra Hartman. She is the software development member of our team for the web UI side, and then Chris Reeves for the engineering process side as well. As far as IMAGINiT Technologies, we are an Autodesk Platinum partner. We are the largest Platinum partner in North America for Autodesk. We spend a lot of time working with our customers to understand their goals and objectives and determine the best solutions for them. We specialize in workflow efficiency and return on investment in correlation with the Autodesk software that we provide our customers. We have a dedicated tech support team of over 16. We have 135 experts specifically in different forms and facets to help with anything that you may need. As far as today goes, this is a little bit about how we operate. We focus on trying to reduce cost and accelerate innovation. We don't try to provide a canned solution. We really try to understand what the goals and objectives are in the unique situation that each individual customer is in, and then we try to provide the best solution possible. Now I'm going to introduce Aaron Eubank, as I mentioned, with WireCrafters. And Aaron, I'm going to pass this over to you and let you tell a little bit about your story.
Thank you, Drew. Just a little bit of background on WireCrafters. We're North America's largest manufacturer of wire partition products and applications. We work through a dealer network of about 1,000 dealers across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico that resell our product. We manufacture in Louisville, Kentucky, in a 260,000 square foot facility where everything is created top to bottom, painted, and then shipped out LTL to different dropship locations around the U.S. We also have a working warehouse in Nevada that services our West Coast customers. We came to IMAGINiT with the issues of we currently had an in-house configurator. It worked on a nice platform, but it was not web-based, so it was very difficult when updates came up for the for customers, our dealers, or ourselves to use it. It also lived on two different platforms. It had an application and then a dashboard base that was web-based, so that was very confusing for our dealers. And they also used their own unique part numbers. They did not use our in-house part numbers, and quotes lived in a different space. So what IMAGINiT built for us was they built a web-based program that communicated with our ERP system, which is very key because our quotes now live in one place. They use our part numbers, and we have proper reporting at the end of the year, so we know what dealers did how many quotes, what the conversion percentage was, and so on. What I'm working with them on next is to integrate additional product lines. So this has been successful in the wire partition line. We're currently testing the rack enclosure and rack back line, which would be a safety product, and then we're looking to do machine guarding next after this. We also plan to roll out to new divisions and additional vertical markets, which just means more detail to what we currently have to do that, and more capabilities to work with the ETAP program that IMAGINiT did on our engineering side. Thank you.
So as Aaron mentioned, the WireCrafters team had developed an internal solution that really met a lot of their needs many years ago. But this solution did not keep up with technology. As we've seen the migration to the web, a lot of things became available with these technology evolutions that just couldn't be met with the current solution. So what we looked at was really a two-phased approach to address the modern version of a solution that might do that. First, in being the upfront web portion that allowed WireCrafters to eliminate some of the maintenance overheads that Aaron mentioned a moment ago of deploying updates and maintaining two platforms. We went with a web-based solution that would allow them to, deploy an update to the web server, and there you go. You've got your solution, you've got your update, you've got your transition and rules, whatever it might be. So that's obviously the ultimate platform for bringing solutions to a diverse user community today. What did the requirements look like for this web application? What did the user need to be able to do? We needed to take design capability directly to the customer. Now, customers can't access it directly, but the dealers sitting in front of those customers during that sales visit, during the call in for requests, that's working directly with that customer. The dealer would open up the application, be able to go through, capture their requirements in a simple design process that allowed them to sketch the walls that they needed and have it driving uniform panel sizes and making these rules happen behind the scenes without being intrusive and blocking what they're trying to do or blocking the experience of working with that application. Because this is on the web, we were able to do that in multiple platforms, whether it be a desktop, a tablet, possibly even a mobile device if your screen's large enough. But this allowed it to capture that customer's design directly and turn it into a sales opportunity that rolls into other back-end systems within the WireCrafters organization. In this particular case, populate made-to-manage orders. Aaron mentioned that there was some issues with part numbers and things like that. All those issues have been addressed. They're working directly with their core part numbers that represent the same products out on the floor that it does out in the catalogs, that it does everywhere you're going to see and communicate with that product. We're able to drive costs. We're able to initiate CRM type applications to capture those opportunities within the partner channel and be able to drive the next level of design innovations. We've talked a little bit, and we'll get into it much deeper, the back-end drawing side of it. This web application communicates with that directly. And you'll see that here in a few moments when we do a demonstration. But as the customer is sitting and drawing out their layout, that push of a button results in populated orders and made to manage, a CRM opportunity in the new sales platform, and then ultimately design and engineering rules and drawings that can be worked with in the engineering staff. What tools did we use to do this on the website? Well, first of all, we started with Blazor Server as the primary component for all of the forms, interactions, and things like that. We implemented third-party tools just to make that a little bit easier for 2D design and canvas layout. Instead of doing all that from scratch, we utilized the tools that were on the market and considered to be industry standard to take away some of the development effort there and just make the process a little more seamless. But ultimately, it's a Blazor platform wrapped around a SQL backend to capture all the database interactions, because we all know these days data is key, and we're capturing that data directly from the interaction in the canvas, pushing it into the database, and becomes an opportunity that we can use across the board. Now, one of the cool things that we did here is, yes, we're doing 2D layout, and we're doing quick sketches in a plan view type organization where you can see what you're doing and you can, dimension a wall quickly and things of that nature. But we wanted to be able to show this and allow the customer to be able to interact with it in 3D. So we leveraged Autodesk's Forge Viewer technologies to be able to offer that. The Forge Viewer is simply a JavaScript platform built on WebGL that allows you to be able to see all these objects in 3D, apply materials, apply lights, all that kind of cool stuff that you want to see in a modern 3D application. Autodesk brings to the table with their Forge Viewer. We process on the back end when needed. So what that means is, as you lay it out in 2D, you push a button, it gets submitted up to Autodesk to process and generate a 3D model. We check that before that automation is run to actually create that new visualization. We check it to see if it's changed. So what we wanted to do is maximize their dollar. We did not want to process the same design over and over and over again. We wanted to utilize the investment that WireCrafters has made in creating those models and working with Autodesk's Forge platform, and take that and use it over and over and over again. They will maximize that dollar. So what we do, we get the layout, we compare it to other layouts, we compare it to the last state of the last time we processed in 3D. And if it's the same, we display that image again. If it's something different, something's changed, we automate that and send it up to Autodesk to get that view. So now we've got our 2D layout done. We've got our 3D model that we can interact with and, you know, query, measure, all that cool stuff that the Forge Viewer brings to us. The next step was being able to get that data into Made to Manage. And this is bi-directional. So we will create objects, but we'll also request updates for pricing and things like that. Because a big part of the sales process is understanding where you are on your budget. As I'm doing this layout, as I'm drawing my model, I want to know that I'm within budget. I'm approaching the ceiling of my budget. I need to reduce a little bit. I need to add a little bit. Whatever I need to do, I want to have that interaction. And then ultimately, when I'm done, I need to push that into Made to Manage. To do all of these interactions, we use native Made to Manage web APIs for that interaction. We're able to call directly into Made to Manage in a secure way to be able to get and receive the data that we need. Now, what was the big driving result here? As I mentioned, we were able to interactively sketch the walls. You know, it's a drawing style that everybody's comfortable with, very similar, in fact, to the previous platform because it was very successful, as Aaron mentioned. We wanted to mimic that as much as possible, but bring it into a modern platform. So we're able to draw and sketch these walls. You know, you've got a pointer style interface, just like you would see in drawing programs. You can either dynamically sketch and get your dimensions showing as you're drawing, or you can do text overrides, be able to enter an exact value. If I know that this wall is exactly 20 feet, 6 1/4 inches away from this column, I can put that in there as a precise measurement and the application will draw it that length in a straight line. We wanted to be able to get detailed property information. We want to know what it is. When we look at an object on the screen, we want to know what that thing is. And we give that by allowing the user to click it and see it and be given information about it. How long is that run? What type of column is that? What color have I selected there? Also, customers need to see what often is referred to as a submittal drawing. You know, a basic drawing like we're seeing here in this screen that shows dimensions, shows critical locations, and generally communicates that we've understood what you're trying to draw and what you're trying to show. Being able to create those drawings directly in the web application without having to go into design platforms like Inventor is a huge time saver for dealers, and it maximizes WireCrafters resources. Instead of engineers having to do sales drawings now, they're able to focus on the custom work and focus on the advanced things that we need an engineer to validate. We can't let a customer do necessarily, or a sales guy or whoever it might be. So they can produce the drawings that they need to produce and allow the engineers to focus. There's no dependence at all whatsoever on back-end design tools for these upfront basic drawings. Also, because we've got rules written into the application as you're drawing, I mentioned before, passively enforcing these rules. It's not interrupting what you're trying to do, but it's nudging you in the right direction. We stop the improper use of product in that way. We don't try to come off of a column at some obtuse angle that doesn't match. We stick to the angles that's supported by the product. We stick to the lengths that are supported by panels and things of that nature. And as I mentioned, you get that real-time pricing feedback. So as I'm drawing, I know exactly where I'm at. If my customer has told me I've got a set budget of $20,000, I can draw to that budget and I can let them make intelligent decisions about what products go in to my design to be able to get the most for their money and to get the value out of the product that they're getting. That real-time feedback for pricing really makes that important. So I think it's time to take a look at and see what the application really looks like. So we're going to run through a quick demo.
All right, this is the WireCrafters web application. This is the main page of the application that you see once logged in. On this page, you get a list of all the quotes that you have access to, and from here you can either view the details or open any of these quotes. I'm going to start a new quote. Going to give it a name. Going to enter the ship to zip code. That's going to allow me to calculate freight for the bill of materials. I can give it a description that I want and select the customer contact. This is going to take me to the layout page. From here, I can do a fixed configuration or a custom configuration. I'm going to start with the fixed configuration. On this dialog, I can make selections about what I want this configuration to be. So I'm going to select that I want 4 walls. I can select the height. There are 3 stock height options, or I could do any kind of custom height within the rules. I'm just going to leave it at an 8 foot, 5 1/4 inch stock height. I could add a ceiling if I wanted to. I can select a color. I'm going to select powder blue. I can change the material if I wanted to. I'm just going to leave it at the 2 inch by 1 inch woven. So at this point, I'm going to enter the length I want for each wall. So I'm going to do a 10 foot for wall A. We'll do 20 for wall B, 10 for wall C, and 20 for wall D. I want to add a door so I can get into this 4-sided cage. I'm going to put my door in wall B. I'm going to make it a double hinge door, leave it at 6 foot. I'm going to put it in the center of the wall. I'll add a key on the front and a recessed knob on the back. I'm not going to add any electric options or additional options. I'm going to hit create walls. It's going to lay out my design. So at this point, I can make changes if I wanted to. So let's say I want this door, I want the doors to swing in. So I can come down here and edit and flip the swing so they swing in now. So I'm going to want to fix these dimensions so that they're not on top of the door. I'm going to drag this down. Go ahead and drag these down so that they match. Let's say I decided that I do not want it to be blue, so I can just select something here. So I'll just select the post and hit edit, and I'm going to just make everything standard gray. So at this point, I can actually apply that to the wall run, or I can apply it to everything. So I'm going to apply it to everything, hit update. It's going to go through and change everything to the powder gray. I'm going to go ahead and change these dimensions here, drag them to the outside. Let's say I wanted to do a custom configuration also within this quote. I can hit custom configuration. First thing I'm going to select is the post. Again, I'm just going to go with an 8 foot stock. So then from here, I can add a panel, a door, add an entire wall, or do a service window. Let's say I want to do a panel. I want to make it, let's say, 2 feet. So then from there, I can just keep adding things into my design. So let's say that I wanted to do a service window. All service windows are 4 feet, so I can add that into my design as well. So for the purposes of this, I'm not going to keep that custom configuration in my design. So I'm going to just delete those out. Let's say I just want this 4-sided cage in my layout. I can make the font a little bit bigger to make it more readable. And I'm going to hit save. Once it's saved the design, it's going to take me to the details page. So at this point, it is now communicating with the made to manage system at WireCrafters. It is sending over the information that's in the quote, so what I've laid out in my design, and then M2M will generate a quote number, and it will send that information back. So now I have a quote number. This came from their made to manage system. At this point, I can view the details of the bill of materials. Gives you the total price, total weight, tells you that it includes the freight. I can download the quote. So this is going to generate a PDF. First page will have the details of what's in the quote, including the bill of materials, the overall price. And then the second page will actually have a layout of what's in my design. So this is the first page, details of the quote, and then the second page is actually a view of the design. So if I am logged into this system as a WireCrafters user, I can create a 3D view. This is one that I have previously created of the same layout. It's going to bring up my design. And from here, I can view it in 3D. Another item on this page is the engineering data. So I can download a file that is the JSON data. This information goes over to the engineering application of this design and then is used by them in Inventor. At this point, I'll send it over to Tim and he can continue to show the design from there.
Thanks, Kendra. So what I'd like to do is just kind of show you a little walkthrough of the back-end tool, the engineering tool. So the whole layout tool was based off of a library that we originally created in the engineering department to help them automate and create their design. So the product that we're using is Inventor Factory Design, where I've got all the assets that are actually required to create a layout built into the system. So you can see we have things in here like doors and panels, or even a little bit ahead of the quoting tool, because we actually build components that they incorporate into the quoting tool at a later time. So the advantage of building the layout in the quoting tool, or what we call the ETAP program, allows us as an engineer, from the engineering point of view, is to take whatever's already that's been configured in the quote tool. So that JSON file that Kendra just exported out and sent over to me, I've got the ability to import that configuration right into my desktop tool. So by taking that layout and processing it, it'll use the actual library of components that I already have built inside of Inventor and allow me to draw that layout quickly and easily. So now this gives me the opportunity that after the job, or after the quote is turned into a job, I can make slight modifications, correct things that weren't quite added correctly in the original quote, or so on, right with real live engineering data. So for example, I may want to go in here and maybe change the default height that we used in the original design, and I want to change the default height to, let's say it's 10 feet for the entire system. So I can quickly just change the defaults and hit a button that we've got a ribbon created specifically for this tool. We create custom buttons for, and just by resetting the assets to the defaults, we're able to go in here and actually change the overall height of the entire layout quickly and easily. The other ability that I have, obviously, is that I've got all the assets that are already part of my program. So if I want to add new assets, I can just drag and drop them into the system. So simply by taking a panel and dragging it in, right, we've got connectors set up so they automatically connect to whatever walls I want to connect them with. And I can also edit existing components. So using my tools, form-based systems, sort of like what Sean was talking about, we've got rules built in so that I'm able to come in and, let's say I want to change this to an electric strike door that is self-closing, and we want it to have an electrical E-strike. So by just changing the form of the dialog box for that particular door and hitting OK, we'll generate a new design that contains those options. So as it builds, my next step is that I'm going to create automated drawings for my layout. So with the Inventor models that I already have generated, we have the ability to create an overall layout, elevation, orientation view that has a customized parts list, and the ability to create details of anything that's going to be a non-standard component. So we have this concept with the tool of a stock versus a non-stock component. I'm able to generate a drawing and generate a bill of material that actually picks out the items that are non-stock and put them in a bill of material. So by hitting the Create Drawing view or Create Drawing button from our WireCrafters panel and selecting a face that I want to use as a front view, our tool will actually generate a brand new drawing, create an elevation view, a plan view of the overall orientation, an isometric view, a parts list, dimension and label each component that shows up in our layout, in our design. So it's going through the process now of filtering out the parts list, only adding things that are non-stock, automatically dimensioning the drawing and tagging each component, differentiating between the non-stock and stock components with custom tags, creating our views. So if you look at our parts list, we can see the stock components with the tag that are indicated just by number, and our non-stock components that have the NS tag in front of them. We're also able to generate detail views or detailed sheets. So if I want a drawing of the door, I just click on my door sheets button and it'll detail each component of the door out in its own detail sheet. I can create detail sheets of the posts that make up the partitions by clicking on the tab or the table post sheet, and also any other custom detail sheets that need to be made from the non-stock components. The other capability that we built in, and one of the tasks that the engineering department would have to perform, is create a piece of consumable for the manufacturing department called a takeoff. So the takeoff is an Excel spreadsheet that has a shipping bill of material. So it's a bill of material that actually shows things that are shipped loose and the components that go into. The packing list. So this is our BOM that actually has all the ship loose items, and it's basically based off of that layout. So it puts things in like hardware packs that they ship with the system when they install it. It's not necessarily you're going to draw something like that on your build in your inventor layout. We also create custom sheets of all the components that need to be, like a cut list that need to be cut out in the manufacturing floor. So it tells us how many pieces of mesh we need for each size, how many are panel, how many are door meshes, and what their tags are. It shows us a list of all the posts that are required and where the whole location where they should be, what face the hole should be drilled on, the height of the post. We get a cut sheet of all the components, structural steel shapes that need to be cut. So all the angle iron and flat pieces that need to be cut in order to make up the design, so that a person sitting at a saw knows what exactly he needs to produce for this particular design. A panel list. So all the different components that make up the panel for each specific tag and how many pieces we need. If there was a slide door track, a whole list of information, and some of this information on these pages is actually consumable by the CNC machine itself to cut the components. So as you can tell, something like this would be very time consuming if you had to make this by hand. So in before we actually automated this was a job that could take someone sitting down making these cut sheets and checking the drawings up to 5 days to a week to check and to produce all this information. So you see actually now that we've cut that time down into minutes. So there's a bit of a lot of improvements. We have some metrics that actually something that would take the typical output of an engineering department of 30 people. This program can produce the same amount with 4 engineers in the same amount of time, the same amount of volume. So everyone, Drew, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate everybody's time today. Special thanks to Aaron Eubank from WireCrafters for attending our webcast. And also a thank you to all the IMAGINiT members as well.